Lowkey versus FT Whatt. They're going to put on a show for you all, so I hope that you are ready. Listen to K-Bot, everybody. Come on.
Get some hype in here. Get excited for this. Here we go.
And you know, I'm already seeing something I wasn't expecting.
Same. Interesting.
Power on the Bamboozler here. I have had enough Bamboozler to never want to see the weapon again after this weekend. But with the advent of main power up, one shot and a tap shot right after is enough. It can do almost 99 damage by itself. It is going to allow them to put more pressure on. That does mean that they have forfeited their Stingray. They are opting to be the aggressive team in this match. And so far, there's sparks flying.
They really are. You know, getting those first couple of picks, being able to have some of the control of the map here is going to help. I also think missiles for tower control are actually a little stronger than people sometimes give credit. And I want to see them continue to kind of do this here. Right now, this Stingray coming out, Power knows that he needs to back off, make sure that he can stay alive because he needs to continue to build this special over and over because he's the closest to it at the moment.
It is. This first checkpoint tends to fall pretty quickly here, and it looks like that will be the case here. It's the second checkpoint that the one is stalking because he knows that is the point of no return. After that, it becomes very difficult to defend. He's moving over here and allowing Misa to come up, but some great moves right there is going to preserve that special with the jump out. And speaking of specials, there's a lot of armor flying around these days, but not from what you'd expect. We've seen more NZAP this tournament than usual.
We have seen a lot of NZAP, and that's actually really nice because sometimes it just feels better for a player to see these high-level competitive play their favorite weapon. So if you're within the casual scene, you can feel like, hey, they are championing what I want to see played too, and it's working really well for the teams here.
It is, as we see now that second checkpoint finally getting approached. They're going to be able to get their jumps back in, so we're going to need to see a play made pretty quick here as that second checkpoint falls. You see the members of For the What have not gone down yet, but they can't seem to get anybody off the tower.
It seems like every time Lowkey takes a step back from the tower, someone else is right there. Misa did get called out by 2D, so that's going to help a little bit in terms of what For the What is going for, but they still have a commanding presence on the map. So much of it is blue. Lowkey just has control to be able to move throughout it as fast as they possibly can and get back to that tower.
And this is where not having a Stingray can be very difficult. You're not going to have a ton of answers for gamers. You will have the missiles that Power has here, and maybe if they can put a little shooting gallery play in there, they might be able to get a pick. But Misa somehow swam away, I think went under the canopy of the Brella and actually managing to hold on right there. I do believe that is Kyo with the King NA here. He is flexing himself right now as they manage to take out the one here. But now we talked about the Stingray, Melissa. It's going to be a thorn in their side until they get past that second checkpoint.
It certainly is, as Gamer just proves right there, taking out Kyo just before they're able to do anything on that. And, you know, at this point, I'm not quite sure what For the What can do in terms of just making sure that they're consistently building these specials. They have the man advantage as well, so maybe that's going to help. But unless they're constantly paying attention to where the position of that tower is, they need to just kind of be on their game a little bit more than maybe what they're showing so far.
And they opted to bring a composition that doesn't have a ton of range to it. Bamboo has a pretty good amount of range to it, but none of their other weapons are really going to be able to reach a lot of there. And we see a nice 180 there. Penguin had to get that revenge killer. They were going to lose their bridge. But again, without the range to really contest a lot of these options, they're going to be running face first into the one, and he is going to try to hold people there. That is his game. He wants to slow you down so that they can use their superior range. Now, they have control right here. They might be able to make a push, but they have to get rid of Gamer to start it.
That's absolutely what I was going to say. Gamer has that Stingray on the ready. 3 specials for the What, but if they don't take out Gamer before that Stingray goes off, or unless they're able to wait for it and then launch their missiles in response, they're really not going to have anything. So if Gamer does go down, that's going to allow them to kind of build this push and maybe go for something, but no one's near the tower just yet. So they still have a little bit of time for everyone from Lowkey to respawn and come back to this.
They had to shuffle the deck a little bit, get the right person up to push. They kind of wanted Penguin to be back towards the center so that he could continue to pepper them with bombs. But I think that that reshift is going to allow the members of Lowkey to put up a defensive swords. Now, one already going down means this armor won't be as effective, and it seems right now that if they can survive this Stingray, they might get past this second checkpoint, and it looks like they have. This is the opening they've needed.
This certainly is. I did not think 2D was going to live that. I thought that 2D was going to go down. Power getting that beautiful shot on the one right there. Exactly what we want to see from Power, and the reason that we're looking at that Bamboo. The maneuverability that it has, has and the speed that it's going to be able to get those perfect shots.
And what can you say for the patience and understanding that For the What has, knowing that when they were reshuffling themselves, they knew that they had enough control of the map that even if they allowed Lowkey to move up, they were still going to get the opportunity to win, and they only need one opportunity. Game 1 going to For the What.
I think that was the perfect pick. We talked about what can happen when they pick something else for Pengit right there, and going to that sloshing machine was it.
Going to that, allowing themselves to shuffle around. Let's take a look at the KA here. Both Pengit and Kyo playing the frontline weapons, but 7 armors coming out of 2D. Do you remember the double end zap days? I do. I didn't like them that much, really.
It was interesting to watch, but definitely from a player point of view, something that a lot of people had some frustration dealing with.
just a little bit of frustration, just a touch.
That double armor was hard to handle, and we could see that it's coming back in a big way. I think we're going to continue to see it within tournaments as well, and possibly going on for these next couple of games.
Well, one of the things that people have been talking about is the whole frontline is dead bit. Whether or not you agree with that, I will leave to you and the viewers at home. But part of the reason why I feel that's the case is because a lot of the armor weapons have slowly moved away. Of course, the Kunder or the Kensa Undercover has been a force that people have been dealing with right now, but that's annoying for a number of different reasons. When you have something that can pull up that many armors that quick, you start to remember how annoying it can be to deal with, especially when you have players like Kyo and Pengit who can punish you if they have that.
Absolutely, and I think the one kind of showed that there. Getting into position where he felt comfortable over and over again was great, but coming around when you had Kyo and Pengit playing as a perfect team, they were sort of playing this like duo that could not stop, and they consistently called out the one and was able to pick him off because they knew that was where their focus needed to be.
Taking a look right now at the counter pick, we saw this one very, very recently, a dominating performance that Lowkey had in their set against In Control, where they got the win here, a knockout that was really never in question from the get-go. All the principles we talked about still apply. You get control of the middle, you pin the other team back, but it can be very difficult to pin back a player of Kyo's caliber.
It certainly can, and I think that the last time that they played this map, it wasn't their counter pick. They were sort of on the winning side. The other team picked this map, but they performed so well on it. Now, this is their choice.
That's so nice, right? You've been gifted like, hey, I didn't think we'd play that well here, but if it worked that well, why not do it again? And I think that this is going to give the one the chance to bring back out his camo tent umbrella here, and this is, I think, not really going to be gut check time. It's still very early in this in the set, but this is where we're going to need to find the answers. For the What's going to have to come up with an answer for that weapon very, very quickly, and Lowkey is going to need to prove that they can play around that weapon really, really well. Now, there is one weapon that I know that Kyo is capable of playing that can absolutely trash that, and that is going to be the Kensa Mini Splatling. That might be one of the best weapons in the game against anything that has Umbrella Shield.
I agree with you. I think that that could be the strongest pick here. It's going to give the range that they need, it's going to give the power that they need, and the maneuverability.
Getting right in some dramatic music here. Let's get hyped for Clam Blitz, everybody. The sound system loves it, so I hope that we do too. Back on Inkblot Art Academy as we get started right here. Let's take a look and see if our predictions do come to fruition. The opening of this map, probably more important than any other.
Interesting. So not quite what we were anticipating, but I really like seeing Gamer back on that ballpoint. I think it's going to help slow everything down and make it a little bit harder for the What to continue to move throughout this map as easily as they had last time around.
I would agree. And Gamer's been using the vanilla ballpoint, which is a little bit interesting here. He's been using it because instead of having that range, the more traditional backline special there to get control, he wants to be able to put as much pressure as he can with the Inkjet. We're going to see some clam shuffling right here as they build a power clean very early on. They're going to jump to a hammer. They are going for a score in the first 30 seconds.
This is exactly the type of play that you expect to see from Lowkey now that we see how commanding they are in terms of clam blitz. Picking up all of those loose clams, Arashi gets right under that basket, and this is where you want him positioned. Everyone coming around to support over and over again. The one over here with that camo bro doesn't quite make it out of that hammer hit, but is able to continue to help the team from as they respawn because they've all gone down at the same time, so they do have an opportunity to come back together.
They do, but they've given up all of mid in response to all of that, and I love the fact that look at the clam count. It has immediately jumped all the way up to 27. They knew as soon as that went down, Get mid, get clams. That is the objective. We play the whole map around here. If they are able to deal with the one on this side, they might have a pretty nice push here, and it looks like they're going to try to ignore it, but that's not going to work at this level. Going to get punished there. You know that Arashi had a hammer waiting, but Pengit holding this down himself. He's going to say, I will pave a trail with the blood of my enemies. Go ahead and dunk this ball for us, please.
Really nice job right there. They are able to get at least one power clam in, a couple of other ones. They need one more to take this lead, and they only now picked it up. They do have enough, and they get it all the way down to 39 with Keo right under that basket in that baller. Gonna try to get another pick as they pop it. No one else is there to throw in any clams, though.
There they come. They're just barely milking a little bit more here, but they've managed to get picks here. The one was the only one up that allowed them to shift back over and not getting clams. It looks like they've had one person sneak back here. The pressure continuing to go. Sparks fly everywhere. I'm not even sure who all is using hammers at this point, but I think finally the bleeding has stopped. The basket does indeed close, and now Lowkey's going to get a chance to respond. You see they only have a couple of clams. They're going to need to get some picks first, and then after that they can start looking at getting a lead.
You said the bleeding has stopped, but I think 18 leaves them pretty darn dry. It's going to be very difficult to come back from this as fast as they may have anticipated, but they need to keep the pressure up and they need to hit them right now. Arashi picks up this power clam and has the ultra stamp that they're going to come in and try to get this pick on power. Not quite able to do so, and another one comes up from behind from Toon. Doesn't get Gamer though, so Gamer is still in a good position to juggle these power clams, which I love watching this type of play.
Oh, and this is a very nice and great job to Keo. They're shutting that one down. There were two people there who could have gone with two directs, and that would have lost them all the mid control there. That was an interesting choice by Arashi to use his hammer as early as he did. They wanted to try to get the picks, and they were willing to sacrifice maybe a little bit of momentum to do it. It does backfire on them now, and look at this. They've lost their plat. They've lost mid. The one's going to need to get at least two here, and I think he might have. The last one is Keo, so there will not be much more scoring for the time being.
Ooh, Keo does take out the hammer though, so that's going to be very helpful in trying to get away, not quite able to do so, does end up going down. There are two power clams on the side of Lowkey. They are getting ready to push back. Two specials at the ready. I know that they're taking some time to build those other two before they do anything, and they want to gain some mid to have some maneuverability here.
28 is a lot here. If Gamer could find a pick here onto power, which is always a risky proposition, they might be able to get a push there. 2D being the menace that is walking around the mid. He has stayed there as long as he could, knowing that he could slow them down and that he had power behind him. This is going to be gut check time. The hammers, the double hammer composition. Three of them go down. Can the one find one more pick? They have enough clams to take the lead.
Ooh,
they have to get them all in, and they do. Will they get the win off of this? Just two more clams, all that's necessary. Can they jump somebody in?
Oh, Gamer had that. I'm not sure if he quite made it in, but they don't really have anyone else around that's going to be able to do it. So this is where there's still an opportunity for the Whatt to come back right now. All they need to do is they need to get two power clams, and they're golden.
They absolutely have two power clams. Pengit very wisely building one and tossing it right back. Ooh. Power going to be taking Arashi, who was the wall that was stopping them there. It looks like Misa snuck around right here with just 30 seconds. They don't want to make a mistake. And Misa holding the position again. Can he get a double? He can't. Inches from losing.
This could be what we're looking for. This could be what For the Whatt has been waiting for as well. Power paving a way right here. Gets a beautiful pick on Arashi, so they don't have that hammer. Keo under the basket with that baller. The jumps are coming in. They get that first one in. They get the second one in. All they need are two clams, one, and that's it.
We talk about patience. The last game, they shifted around to make sure they had the right people in the right positions to push on that tower. That time, they were willing to shuffle around to make sure they had the specials in the right spot. Get a little pick here with the snipe. Get one more pick. Get enough clams, then push in. And, you know, sometimes the good old-fashioned jump to the baller is still just as good. That situation right there, great composure from For the Whatt. And now, that was the counter pick. Whenever you lose on a counter pick, that has to be disheartening.
I think, honestly, that's where they were really banking on that. But coming back, they just couldn't quite pick it up. You can see right now, Gamer really serious, very adamant about whatever they're trying to go for here. And maybe this will be in their favor. Maybe they're going to just... I hope that the mentality that they have going into this is that they're still excited. They're still looking towards kind of hanging on to that excitement they had from winning earlier, and they're not letting what just happened get to their heads.
Well, let's remember, this is a team that has been here before. They have been on the big stage before. They know how to compete. They know how to take losses and come back stronger. What I'm curious about is how they will respond on Splat zones, because traditionally the members of For the What have been very, very strong on Splat zones. And we call this the neutral mode for a reason, right? It's the one that's got the most development. It is the one that is the easiest to grasp. And it's the one where you can play a number of different ways. Now, take a look right here. Everything that I just said goes out the window when you opt to go to Camp Triggerfish. This is Tentabrella's Central right here. A very tricky and demanding map and mode. The way that these teams try to attack it will be very fun to watch.
It certainly will. I think they have to be so careful about the flanks that are going to come out. You know, they need to not only be ready to push on to the other team's zone, but paying attention to what's happening on their own. Sometimes a team can push so far forward, not realize that a flank's going to come around from behind, and that zone goes over there, and it continues to just be a neutral game consistently. So I hope that we do have something that we'll be able to see them just pay attention to what's going on around them at all times. If you get too into it and you're not quite maintaining a full map awareness and just focusing on where the enemy is coming from, you don't always see them come from behind.
And some teams will opt to send 2 and 2. If you're not familiar with Splatoon, this is what we call a split zone map. There's a zone that is on one side that your opponent can access and one that is on your side that you can access, but you can shoot to the other side. It's not so long of a gap that you can't do that. So sometimes a team will opt to send 3 people to one side to either guarantee that they take their opponent's zone or guarantee that they have solid control of theirs. The zone counter does not go down unless you have both of them. But again, we talked about it last time. The One is the only one of these players who uses Tentabrella. Even when the Tentabrella was considered bad, this was its best map, the one that everybody used it on. So I don't know. Again, he needs to be able to make the difference. He made it in the last set. He needs to be able to do the same here.
Certainly, and I think that he absolutely can. But, you know, we're going to have to see what else they decide to bring to it. What kind of support can that Tentabrella play have? And what other options does For the What have ready to answer it?
Well, there is one very scary one in the form of Power. We'll see if he opts to go Firefin or Stingray. Both very strong options right here. This is the counter pick. Lowkey has to get this win, going down 3-0, very demanding, and it does look like we're going to see the traditional splatter scope here. Stingray galore, everything else looking pretty sharp.
Power had great positioning the last time we watched him play this map, 4 zones, and I think that we're going to just keep seeing that again, making sure that Power is maintaining that top area to constantly put up the pressure on anywhere that he can. And I think that that's something they really have to pay attention to. Arashi really should be the one who's making sure that Power is constantly being pushed out of where he needs to be.
He is, and the wall that he has there is going to make it possible for him to shut down sides almost single-handedly, right? He's really the only weapon on the map that can do that, and you actually see that 2D has picked the exact same weapon. Anytime you have a splash wall, it makes it that much easier for you to hold yourself back and hold the enemy back. But they had sent 3 people to one side to get themselves an advantage, and I don't even know how he snuck through there. That's a top-level pick.
It certainly is. 2D coming up from this side is really going to use that wall, as you mentioned, to just create a good amount of defense for him so he can stay over there and still alive on that other side, even though he is all alone. Pops that hammer and tries to get something, but doesn't quite able to do it. Does help to neutralize this zone, though, and it does go back over For the What.
And if you're a fan of L3s, this should be the set for you. Arashi has been championing this weapon ever since it got a hammer on it, and of course 2D, maybe the king of the H3 and L3. He's been using them in Splatoon 1 and still using them to great effect right here. And I love the way that he's going around a little bit overzealous there as the One immediately yeets it at Power right there. Not even time for us to cheer. And how did he survive that too? Oh my gosh, poor Pengit probably thought he had something there, but instead all he got was a face full of Brella.
Sometimes if you get caught off guard, it just gets really hard. You think that you're able to get that pick, not quite able to do so, and then they come out from behind, and that's exactly what happened here. Pengit is not able to hold down this zone, but
what?
2D, what just happened? 2D decide to go behind?
I think it's very difficult to maneuver in tight spaces, and I think that's exactly what happened there. I'm not entirely sure what it was there either, but the result is that now it's back to the other way. That's a special that's wasted and not doing a whole lot. That's both Inkmine's backup as well. And speaking of hammers, Arashi back on the other side, fighting in the same spot he's been fighting this entire game.
I think Arashi just decided to camp out here, knows that this is his zone, his area. He's going to make sure that he's constantly covering it so that nobody can come around. And Pengit says, no way, I'm getting getting this pick and you are gone. And the answer from Power with this Ray.
He had to get that pick, too. You can see right there, only 12 left, and it might not even matter if the one can get a couple picks here. They needed a way to break through, but they can't get back to their own zone. This tent umbrella too much. Misa going to get the follow-up. Do they even have anyone who can paint left?
I don't think so. This is crunch time. There's nothing else they can do there, and that game is going to go to Lowkey.
That game right there, I think more than anyone else or any other game that we've seen, can show you how important maps are in Splatoon and how much it can shift everything. And it's also why this counterpick system has started to be used more often. If this was given in just a pre-made map set, it distinctly favors one team over the other, and they really don't have a lot of say about it. That was the map that Lowkey got to play their game the way they wanted to, and it played to all their strengths. That's why it's a counterpick. That's why they picked it. And to be honest, that's kind of what we expected the result to be.
It certainly is. And I think that's why counterpicks are so nice. We've seen them happen within LAN environments only sort of recently. The past couple of events that we've been going on has brought this idea of a counterpick in because it creates a different mentality for the players as well. They find that they can practice on things, they know what they are really good at, and if they come in a situation like this where now they're a game down, they can come back with a map that they're going to excel at.
Speaking of Excel, Rainmaker, we saw the last time that Lowkey played on Rainmaker, they got control, they moved up very slowly and methodically. They put the Rainmaker in difficult positions for then in control to get out. I think Slimy said on Analyst Desk that the Rainmaker stayed in the same spot for almost 4 minutes, and they are perfectly fine with that. They know all the weird ways to attack all these maps, so let's counterpick to a spot where there is no safe spot for the Rainmaker. I like this look for the what.
I love this pick as well. I think that it goes back and forth. A lot of teams feel very uncomfortable on this, and then there are teams that just love it. So either you love it or you hate it, and there's no middle ground here, and I think that's exactly why they decided to go with it.
Yeah, and there's not going to be anything slow and methodical about this map. If two people go down, that is the signal to go forward, take space. You can either push it far left where it's very difficult for the opponent to rotate over and defend, or you can take it straight at it for the points as well. There's so many options, and you know, it's so funny. Even when we don't put it on the map list, Blackbelly Skate Park Rainmaker still finds a way to make it into the finals of a LAN.
That's what's so nice about counterpicks. We talked about it a little bit from the idea of people just really enjoying being able to pick something that they practice, but also from the audience point of view, enjoying to see something too.
So let's think about this. I'm very curious to see what the one is going to go here. If I had to take a pick, I'm assuming he's going to go back to the Kensa Undercover Umbrella. That's the more mobile one, maybe not being able to set up the canopies to push forward. But the canopies can also be very devastating on this map if it is close. If they opt to go down that left side, that half pipe as we call it, the tent umbrella can almost single-handedly shut that down, and it might have bubbles on top of it. I think we're going to get our answers here pretty quick, though.
I can't wait to see what they decided to go with. I agree with you. We're going to see the Kensa Undercover, but those bubbles on that tent umbrella can be very, very strong here as well. And the half pipe is actually my favorite place to watch those fights happen. So we'll see what they decided.
Taking a look at it now, pretty conventional from For the What. Looking on the other side, it is the camo tent umbrella, so they are opting to go as heavy-handed as they possibly can. Double hammer comp, Stingray and Misa staying on the Kensa shot as well. Taking a quick trip back to spawn, though, got a little too close there, and that pop happened fast.
Sometimes when you're in that position, you have to be so careful about that pop. You might think you have it, and you're just too close to be able to get away as fast as you can, just going down to that Rainmaker shield. I believe it's you who said most broken weapon in the game?
It most certainly is, and we see one already go down there. 2D actually got a pick on the right side of the screen, and as soon as that happened, the signal was given to go, go, go. 35 points, not a bad push, but also not a whole lot on this map, but that is going to be indicative of what this map will do and what we're going to see the entire time. 2 down feels like 3 down, to be perfectly honest.
And Pangit's still in a very good position for the rest of the team to be able to come back here and push this Rainmaker up. If they can get the pick before it moves much further to mid, Pangit's going to feel really good to have the rest of the team support him and pick up that Rainmaker again and keep going.
And a great pick with the Stingray there by Power, because that's going to force the Rainmaker to stay here. Misa going out just a little bit too far is going to get taken down. That's a bit of a misplay there, because remember, they only have one extra person who can defend in that situation. Thankfully for them, it is the one who not only gets the pick, but has the canopy to push forward, and Power shutting that one down. I don't think they would have lost the lead if he'd snuck through, but it would have been very annoying.
It certainly would have. I think Power is just having such command and control here, being able to get 2 picks very, very fast and get that one off of Gamer with that Stingray. Exactly what they want to be. Do get one on Toon as well, or 2D gets one there too.
no wasted frames at all there. Very efficient. I think every second of that Stingray hit the target there. And Power has really been the force in this game. As you see, gets a pick there on Arashi. When he's able to push up here, this is the influence that he has over the game. No other weapon can do it as he gets another. Thankfully, Gamer has a Stingray because Power has been taking everyone else out.
Gamer really needs to focus on Power a little bit. Oh, beautiful shot right there by Power on Arashi and trying to dodge that hammer. Great maneuverability that Power has here as well.
Oh, that's the spot that he's going to opt to stay. We talked so much about the control, and I said that this was a map you couldn't just control. Apparently, I forgot that Power is very good at the game of Splatoon. Another Stingray to keep it up in that position, and you see another 2 down, 3 down, a full wipe. If that canopy wasn't in the way, they might have been able to run it right there, but I think they're going to get a few more points on the board right here.
I think they're going to get more than a few, pushing it all the way to 10, right next to that pedestal. And they are getting cleaned up by Misa right now, though. Power gets that beautiful shot again. They're right there.
We keep saying the same name, but folks, that's exactly what's going on. Power now moving all the way up. They're trying to retreat to one side, but it's still going to give Kyo the chance. And again, the one almost punting it here has to put it in a position, but this is not the spot you want to go down either. How are they supposed to fish that one out?
They need so much paint to be able to climb up on that wall. It's already purple everywhere else that they really don't have an option. It's going to take them a little bit of time to get that out of that area.
Oh, and the rain here is going to make it even more difficult. The canopy is going to at least force 2D out, but it's not really going to do a whole lot in the grand scheme of things. Look at this. It's not even getting a chance to go green here. They know that we can just throw subs here. They're going to have to come to the middle if they want to get around there. And unfortunately for them, who's waiting in the middle? Power.
Gamer has a really nice positioning up here as well because Gamer actually is in the ability to be able to paint that Rainmaker shield and pop it with that ballpoint. So that's exactly, or sorry, with that Splatling. That's exactly what he's going to do. Picks up the Rainmaker and decides to push over on this right-hand side. Knew that it worked really well for the Whatt last time, getting it all the way to 10, and they can do it coming back this way too.
And this is actually really scary. We talked in the last map about the dynamic of pushing to one side and it being easier for your opponent to push. That could have gotten very dicey very quickly, but Peng it with the double is going to shut that one down. Misa going to get the punish. They need to work some jumps in right now. They're in an okay position, but Misa cannot go down. He has to hold, opts to retreat here to at least save his special and preserve a little bit of mid control.
Power has Misa's number, though, looking for him, popping those missiles to not just make sure that the other members are pressured to move throughout the map, but also to give an eye on where they're at. So that's going to be helpful as well. And we're just sort of waiting for everyone to kind of come back around to this Rainmaker and for the Whatt to clear this out of their zone.
This is very scary. You can see if this Stingray manages to find a couple people, it might go away. Power going to jump away and preserve his Stingray. Very wise. And the fact that they were able to get Misa there at the top of the screen might be what preserves this victory for the Whatt. They had a Stingray. Power jumped out and allowed Misa to move up, but Misa went down too early in that push, and now the Rainmaker is going to reset here. The one is going to put it all on the fact that his hammer might be able to take 2 or 3 out.
I think that that's exactly what's happening here. Pops the hammer, does get the one on 2D, and is going for Power. I'm not quite sure he's going to be able to do it, though. Is still Arashi with his own hammer behind, uses it to pop the Rainmaker shield. A lot of fun. They pick up the Rainmaker, and they have the overtime push going for them.
They do, but that costs 2 of their specials in order to get essentially nothing. Power got 1 pick. Power gets 2 picks. Is he going to get the Rainmaker to end it? He does! Right over the top of the tent there. I am scared to see what Power's KA is going to be. At this level, we always say one player can take over a game. We don't often see it, but we saw it right there on that game. That was a shooting gallery for one Mr. Power.
Really, really great job. And everybody kind of smiling a little bit.
20 bomb!
Oh my gosh. And 5 Stingrays. Power. Getting up and clapping, Peng it, just celebrating your teammate's victory. That is exactly what we like to see, and something you can't do as easily when you're playing online.
Yeah, there's a lot of things on there that I can't do, easily or not. But now we are at 3-1 for the Whatt, 1 victory away from getting a second shot at Demise. But Lowkey does have another opportunity here. They are going to get to do a counter pick. Right now, we are back to tower control, which they had a pretty solid lead in that first game, if you remember, only losing it at the very end due to some very patient and methodical play from for the Whatt. So they have to at least feel comfortable about the mode. I'm very curious to see what map they will pick here because they've now lost on a compressed map. They've had a little bit of trouble on a bigger map. So I'm very curious as to what the answer they're looking for is.
honestly, I think whatever they go for, they're going to have a tough time beating Power. Power is on fire, and as long as he continues up the pressure that he's shown and the accuracy that he's had in these past games, Lowkey has a really tough time getting past that.
Great players make great plays, and we talk so much about the relationship between backliners and why the Splatling-Charger relationship has always favored the Charger at least a little bit, because they do have the potential to very quickly get those picks, so it doesn't matter that the Splatling can paint a little bit more, because if you can't paint for your teammates, I mean, there's not much you can do. So we'll see here what they opt to go with. It is going to be a long road for them. They're going to need to get 3 victories in a row, a difficult task against any team. It looks like they've gone with Manta Maria here, so a longer map, some very tight corridors here. They're probably going to try to overload it with their double hammer composition or with their tent umbrella. That's my guess, at least. That's my perspective, but this also means Power's going to have a lot of room to work here.
Power has a lot of height as well. Not only does Power have an option of where he wants to set up, but he can move throughout these places very quickly with this game because it's very narrow in comparison. It's a long map, but it's a narrow map. So Power can set up one place, decide, you know what, I want to move over here. What Lowkey needs to do is make sure that Power doesn't have the opportunity to move throughout the map, because this is their shot. This game, if For the What takes it, knocks Lowkey out.
They must feel really confident about this, because like you said, it is tournament match for them, or tournament game for them potentially here. They're going to need to, I think that the compositions they've run can do okay on defense, right? They're going to have a splash wall. They're going to have a canopy. They should be able to play defense okay. My question is, what offense will they be able to work? And if it gets into that back area, the street that some people call it, the sneaky, if Power gets set up on top mid, there is nowhere that they can safely stop that push from. They're going to need to prevent that from ever happening if they want a chance to win.
Hopefully they can do that. Let's see what they decide to bring in for that and what they can play to their strengths in order of pushing this objective.
So it's not going to be the tent umbrella. It's instead going to be the Kensa undercover umbrella. They want the armor here. That is one way to make sure that Power's not ruining your life. Pick something that has armor here. Use that so that you can at least survive maybe 1 or 2 more shots, have a little more mobility. And it goes without saying, torpedoes can be a little bit of a harassment too.
I think torpedoes definitely, when targeting Power, are a good pick here, because Power is not going to be able to stay put. Has to use a little bit of ink to either push that away from him or make sure that he has some maneuverability. But already with the first Stingray coming out, does get a beautiful pick right there that's going to help them feel very, very confident. Pushing Arashi out of the way as well. Arashi now has to return to where he was set up and repaint before he can move anywhere.
He gave up that position awfully quickly. I was surprised to see him rotate back as far as he did. Penguin was able to cope without any resistance. Maybe he thought Gamer was moving up there, but a little bit of a misplay in that whole situation. Now the spot that we said they couldn't allow them to get to, they're already at. We're less than a minute into the game.
And there's really only the answer here is the Stingray, because no one else is around to be able to stop this push coming out. 2D pushing a little bit forward, but Pangit had that splashdown and was holding on to it to make sure that he could use it in the most opportune moment, and that was it. They just need a few more seconds on that tower to be able to get through this checkpoint, which if they had broken that through, they would have felt very confident in that push.
Yes, and you know, I'm really impressed with the fact that Lowkey was even able to stop that there. They had a lot going against them, and actually, we didn't talk about it, but Power actually won that Stingray battle too. So even that small advantage that they had went in favor. So credit to them having the consistency and having the composure to slow that one down. This first checkpoint doesn't have a whole lot. Now Gamer's in a powerful position that we talked about. Splatlings are okay up there too, but what are they going to do? Power actually already went down. That's going to be 2 down now, and they might be able to get past this checkpoint as well.
For the What also lost their armor right there, so that's going to be pretty hard because they don't quite have a strong way to defend a lot of the things that's happening. The One getting a beautiful pick on Keo as well. They're going to be able to get back onto the tower, and I believe that this is the lead.
It is, and the One actually won what was essentially a 2v1 right there. They're going to be able to continue moving, and that Kensa undercover is going to be so difficult to get off of that tower as Penguin goes up and tries to make a play happen. They actually do a pretty good job there, but again, getting to this checkpoint, this is generally the win condition right here.
It certainly is. Coming out, you know, they need to be very, very careful because Gamer does have that Stingray at the ready, and I'm pretty sure they're just waiting for the perfect opportunity to help support the team or use it as defensive as For the What begins their counter push.
And I love the fact that Gamer didn't retreat too far. He knows he has a nice immovable object in front of him that he can use to just pick people off. That's going to slow that down, and then he can jump out still, maybe get a couple other picks. He knows that 2 of his members are already down here. They can use this Stingray to slow it down as the one tries to hold this position. There are certain positions on this map, and any map really, you can't give up, and I like the fact that Lowkey knows that and has made a good solid hold there as we approach another checkpoint.
They still need to be really careful, though. You know, right here, Keo jumping down with that ball is going to allow for a little bit of pressure ahead of the towerway. If they can get through that checkpoint, they don't have a whole lot. There's not a big difference between 48 and 21 on this map, so they just need to be able to get through that and push it. But if nobody is on the tower, it's going to take a little bit of time.
Yes, and now the fact that Kyo is holding this spot right here, he knows that the push is slowed down a little bit. Unfortunately for him, it's a pretty raw deal when Arashi has his hammer at the ready. The 2 of them were playing a little bit of a chess match right there, saying who's going to come out and try to attack first. Q knew that the push was slowing down a little bit, so he wanted to try to go up, maybe get that pick, keep it going, was not there. And Gamer now rushing forward. The original aggressive Splatling, was that a triple he just got?
I believe so. I mean, they went 3 down, and there was no one else that could have done that. But this is exactly the pressure that Pangit doesn't want to have. Gets a beautiful pick on Misa, so that's going to be helpful, but has to avoid a lot of these torpedoes that are coming at him. He does have Splashdown at the ready that I'm sure he's going to use in an offensive matter right now. Just needs to wait it out and wait for somebody to be close enough where he can use that to do some damage.
Immediately approaching here, not going to get to use it. Maybe should have opted to use it a little early there, but even then, Gamer had his charge. You know someone of Gamer's caliber is not going to miss the mid-air splashdown splat either. And now Gamer's now stuck in a really interesting position. I like this move, jump out there, not even worry with just 30 seconds left. There's no reason for you to go down too early and give up your advantage. Arashi needs to find a pick here, though. They've lost mid-control entirely, and he's not going to be able to. And now Misa caught off in a sad spot too, and Gamer came back. What? Okay, everything I said about Gamer was wrong. Everything I said was wrong.
Everything just fell apart. We had people up, and all of a sudden everybody was down. There was just a 1v1 situation as everyone is now jumping back into mid from For the What. They're pushing this tower again. As I said, there's not a big difference between their numbers. They need to be able to get through this checkpoint, and I think they can do it as, you know, people are coming in, but they just need to hold their own, hold their ground.
Gamer's not even close to Stingray right now. He's going to opt to do this the old-fashioned way, and Power's actually going to have his 2. They're going to walk this forward. 1 down, 2 down. Power has to get there, and that is going to be a lost lead For the What. Kyo pops off there, and look at that. Up in the middle. He's asking for it. Oh, my gosh. That is